Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contract, services month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have William Hirsch on the line. He's an architect and author of the newly released book, The Well-Centered Home, Simple Steps to Increase Mindfulness, Self-Awareness, and Happiness Where You Live. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man. Well, first thing first, congrats on releasing the new book. How do you feel? It's done. It's out.
You're right. It's the end of a lot of work to get a book out. We're pretty pleased with it.
Oh, man, that's awesome. And I think for anybody listening that's ever wanted to write a book or they've written a book, to say it's a lot of work might be a little bit of an understatement. And I'm excited to get into this book with you today. But before we do that, just give the audience a little bit of a feel for your background. How did you get started in business and in your career?
Sure. Well, as an architect, you have to first go through an accredited university and then get some experience as an apprentice, and then sit for a lengthy 5-day exam to get licensed. So I went through all of that and established my own practice. And gradually over the years, I found that I enjoyed doing residential architecture a lot more than commercial architecture. In the last 20 years plus, I have specialized in that.
It's awesome, and I think that's a great transition. So let's not keep the audience waiting anymore. Let's dive right into this book. So, The Well-Centered Home: Simple Steps to Increase Mindfulness, Self-Awareness, and Happiness Where You Live. First off, what was the inspiration for writing this book?
Well, I have also a background in psychology, or a degree in psychology, and my whole career I've always combined the two to some degree, meaning that I was always interested in how people react and respond to architecture, and in particular, how they react to it in their homes. And this has always been a key part of the homes I design, and I could always explain it in architectural terms. But then recently, it finally dawned on me that it was possible to describe these same effects and sensations and strategies and purposes for anybody with any home, whether it's a small studio apartment or a large elaborate house. And these principles turn your home into kind of a recharging station for your psyche. It's all about aligning your home with your particular home body type, and then removing things that are irritants, improving things that are positive energy contributors, and getting a home that when you're there makes you feel better, centers you, reduces stress, and simply makes you happier.
So, and I know there's many things in here. So as I've looked through the book and the way it's kind of laid out, what are some of the main things that you hope that your readers will get out of kind of going through this book? And I know you have some quizzes in there and some other things. Like what are some of the things that you hope they get out of this?
Well, the main point that I hope people get is that their home is more than something to keep the rain out and keep them warm in the wintertime, that it does a lot more for us, or to us, if you will, than just those simple physical things. We spend over 70% of our lives in our home, and these days, with pandemic, we're actually spending quite a bit more than that. their home has a huge influence on how we feel, how we approach life, how we deal with others, and just simply how we feel on an emotional and psychological level. And so I hope that people will realize that they can make certain adjustments or enhancements to their home that might be as minor as rearranging furniture into optimum positions, removing things that might be negative energy contributors, like a door that doesn't close right, or an unfortunate view from one room to another that you could enhance and turn into a better view. I call those negative items pebbles, like a pebble in your shoe that would be an irritant. The first step, you want to remove all of those. And then the second step would be to provide pearls. And the pearls are positive things that add positive energy and positive emotional responses. And they'd be things that you like to look at. They would be connections to nature on the outside. And so if you remove the pebbles and add the pearls, you increase the positive effect that your home has on your own emotional sense of well-being.
That's awesome. And, obviously we're not going to have time to go through the whole book. And, but even if we did, we're not going to. Why? Because I want readers to go and pick this book up. It's really easy to find on Amazon. I literally typed in The Well-Centered Home. Comes right up. You'll see it. Only one William Hirsch on there, only one architect, and the book cover is beautiful, as you'll see in the promo. But I do want to pull one thing out of the book and get your take on it, just to give the audience a little bit more of an idea of the flavor of the content. So I see in chapter 9, so visual rhythms and patterns that calm the mind. A lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives listening to this, and this sticks out to me because we all want that calm mind. Can you tell us a little bit more about this chapter and what you wrote?
Well, we respond to rhythms and patterns on a subliminal basis. It's beyond whether we simply like it or not. But there are certain calming rhythms, and the ones that you might recognize in nature would be the rhythm of the waves at the beach, or it might be the rustling of the leaves, or it might be in your home. It could be something like the pattern on a wall covering, or the steps on your staircase, and getting these things into positions where you get to see them more frequently, and that you subconsciously appreciate them is a big help. Tile patterns and the series of cabinet doors, all these things, what we architects would say would mark time visually as you move through the home, and they need to be thought about and kind of orchestrated. There aren't really set do's or don'ts, but if things are haphazardly put together, they become negative. So anything that sort of spaces out time as you look at it, lets your eye move gently from one thing to the next, those are all de-stressing effects. Things that are jagged and broken up and irregular tend to increase stress.
Oh, that's awesome, and I get it, and I know we're just touching the tip of the iceberg on this one, but I wanted to whet the appetite of our listeners so they go grab this book, because just to give them a little bit more of a feel for some of the other things. So, living and loving your chapter 13, living and loving your. I'll pick out a few. Your well-centered home. Number 5, peopling the space, making your home more human. Chapter 7, a place for everything. Why we need order, not chaos. Chapter 10, tuning into the senses, practical advice for the eyes, ears, and more. Chapter 11, color my world, what hues and shades do for our home and our souls. Bill, I know you put a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort into creating this book, and I see it. It comes through in the writing and also in your philosophy that you incorporate throughout this book. I'll just throw this out there. From my opinion, not your typical, let's just say, book on your home and how to and from an architect. So congrats and kudos to you on finishing this. I think the audience is definitely going to like it, those that pick up a copy. So that being said, if somebody's listening to this, Bill, and they want more information on how to pick up the book or to connect with you and your brand overall, what's the best way for them to reach out or to do that?
Probably the best way would be to visit our website for the book, wellcenteredhome.com, and that will give you a lot of information. It will also mention the 4 homebody types. There's a quiz in the book that lets you identify your personal preferences and tendencies, and then you can align the things that you do to improve your home with your particular homebody type to make it that much more effective. So that would be a good way to contact me or to find out more about the book at the website. They could also drop me an email if they wish at bhirsch, that's BHIRSCH, at williamhirsch.com.
Fantastic. And let's have you leave that website one more time. I don't want to assume that everybody listening to this had their pens ready and had all that stuff good. So what's the website again they can learn more?
It's www.wellcenteredhome.com.
Fantastic. Well, Bill,
and of course they can go to Amazon as well and read a sample there in the book listing.
Fantastic. Well, Bill, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And again, congrats on the new book. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review in the Apple iTunes store. And if you're watching this from our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Bill, thanks again for coming on the show.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Adam.
All right, so I'll cut the audio there. Man, you're good at this. I was like, this guy's so smooth. I'm like,
I don't know about that.
You've been on the book tour for a while or something. That was great. It was a great interview.
Well, I have to talk to my clients all the time, so I get
that's what I
get used to answering questions.
Yeah, you're like, that's what I figured. So next steps on my end, and don't mean to cut it short, but I have to run to the next interview. So I'm going to shoot the audio to my team. They're going to do all the editing, all the other good stuff they do. They're really fast, so this should be live within 10 business days. When it does go live, you're going to get an email, and that email is going to have your full video marketing package. You'll have a full YouTube video, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, be on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. You'll even have a Pinterest post. So more social media and content that you ever thought you needed, wanted, or cared about will be in your inbox. So feel free to use all that stuff as you like. And obviously, if you need anything else, just hit the reply button and we'll take care of you, okay?
And I'll be sending it out to all of my contacts. Yes, keeping up with the social media stuff is more of a challenge than writing the book, I think.
That's a whole nother episode. But thanks a lot, Bill, for coming on the show.
Thanks,
and
Adam.
Have a great rest of your week. Take care.
All right. Let me know if I can ever help you out in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.